All right, everybody. Sorry, I had to start a second live stream. I'm not really sure why it all stopped. It looked like on my end that everything was going. The time was still going. It said it was live, but I had a message from somebody that the live stream cut out a few minutes in. So quite honestly, I'm not exactly sure what all you guys heard and what you guys didn't hear. There's a lot about faith this time of year. The dark is coming. The dark is in the strongest. The light is coming back. The light is slowly starting to return. Is a feminine. All right. So what I was talking about when I stopped was Venus and Neptune in the square. I was thinking that the live stream probably didn't catch much of that. Venus and Neptune coming together in the square in Jupiter's signs. I did go ahead and put the chart up, so I'm gonna do that for a minute here, so that way I can show you all the sequence. I'm gonna go ahead and back the chart up to today here, and I'm gonna go ahead and put it up there. You can see that the moon is in the sign of Capricorn right now. The sun has crossed over into the sign of Capricorn. That winter solstice mark, so happy birthday, all of you Capricorn suns. And then if I go ahead and move this chart forward just a couple days here to Tuesday, December 23rd, just before Christmas, we have a square between Venus and Neptune at 29 degrees. Venus and Neptune are both in Jupiter's signs. Jupiter is in the sign of Cancer. Jupiter, within its own right, and within both of these signs, has a lot to do with our beliefs, with our morals and our ethics and knowledge and the information and the wisdom that comes in, all of those things that we learn, right? All of our belief systems, our religious values, our spiritual values, our personal moral values, and our own ethics, all of those higher principle, overarching things. Those are Jupiterian type things, right? In the sign of Sagittarius, it's the fire sign of Jupiter. So there's a lot about going after those beliefs, wanting to understand, wanting to really bring forth that wisdom and broaden our horizons and expand in the way that Jupiter does, but in a passionate, fiery type way, right? The zest for life is very much alive in the sign of Sagittarius. So asking why, asking when, asking how, wanting to go experience. It's the vision quest, right? Wanting to experience all of the things within life to fully experience life. That's what we can find in the sign of Sagittarius. Neptune in the sign of Pisces is the water sign. It's the emotional sign of Jupiter, right? So those connections to the beliefs, to the spirituality, to the religion, to our own ethics and morals, all of those Jupiterian type things are there, but instead of a fiery connection, it's much more of a watery connection. So our emotions, right? Our memory body, our connections with other people are much more entangled here. When I see two planets coming together through a square from Jupiter's signs, I'm wondering about a test of belief, a test of our will, and daring to believe when we don't necessarily see. I had mentioned, I don't think you guys heard this, but I was talking about Santa Claus. And I was talking about how with Santa Claus, it's not that seeing is believing, it's believing is seeing, right? You won't see him unless you believe in him. You won't see him first. He's not going to show himself to you. It'd be like, yeah, here, I'm Santa Claus. So that way you can believe in him. So that will and that belief and that test of faith with this square between Venus and Neptune, right? Venus and Neptune came through that trine, just like all the planets that move through the sign of Sagittarius, or through the sign of Scorpio. Sorry, I promise we are going to be done talking about that here at some point. But again, not sorry, because it's a process that we've been going through, right? There was opening and there was flooding and there was expansion within the grand water trine. Those are not things that are just done as soon as the transit are done. For a lot of us, it opened up new pathways of exploration of different types of watery connections depending on how it hit for all of us. So now the test and the effort that is needed to create, to dream, to romanticize. Venus and Neptune, when they come together, can be very, very romantic and very creatively inspired. Very creatively inspired by feeling like a passion and a connection and a drive that comes from within us, right? That emotional connection that I feel deeply that this is the direction that I need to be going. So, coming just after the winter solstice, where I was talking about the different, there's so many different traditions and religions that have different traditions this time of year and celebrations that really are about the belief in the faith and the testing of the faith that a light is coming. If you look at the Yule celebration, they look at the change of seasons and that the light is literally coming back. If you look at if you look at Christmas and you look at the Advent season, it's all about the prophecy of a light, Jesus, the Savior, that is coming to open things up, right? To liberate all of us. If you look at Hanukkah, there's about the liberation of the people. All of these different traditions also have different traditions and acts that deal with candles and the lighting of candles. And as different days or weeks go forward, you light more candles. So the light is really slowly is really increasing there. I said a whole lot of other things too. I'm not sure what you guys did and didn't hear, so I don't want to necessarily labor on that. Plus, we're halfway through our time here too. So, but I think there's a lot about the test of faith and the test of will and knowing that light is coming, right? And when you have a faith and you have a deep belief that that light is coming and that light really exists, whether you can see it or not, whether you can feel it or not. It inspires you and it lights you up in a way that allows you to move forward confidently, but also in a way that fills you up so deeply, a way that fills you, that feels like Venus and Neptune. But there might be a little bit of a test there, right? There might be a little bit of a test of the faith there. You might have to remember that from the dark, light emerges, just like at the winter solstice, that darkest point of the year. The light slowly starts to emerge. I mentioned how the solstice points, 0 Cancer and 0 Capricorn, are feminine signs, and it's not the place where the dominance of light or dark changes. Excuse me. It's the place where one slowly starts to creep in, where the other one slowly starts to fade. So it's a little bit more of a passive process. Excuse me. Kids come home from school and they bring a cold along with us. I'm going to go ahead and pause for just a moment here. All right, excuse me, and we're back. If this is your first time joining us, I promise it's not usually like this, and the last few weeks have been very untypical, but yeah, that's just how life has been. And I've said that before too, that when I do this live week after week for over 3 years now at this point, you get life and you get what comes my way, right? So the test of faith. The test of faith, as we're at that point where we are called to slow down and to rest. I'm not quite sure if it cut out before I talked about the turning points and the slowing down at the cardinal signs. The winter solstice is a moment to slow down, pause, and to rest before starting again. Now, if we go back to the wheel here, just after the square between Venus and Neptune, Venus is going to move into the sign of Capricorn. This is going to set us up for what we're going to be talking about for the next several weeks here. Venus, Sun, and Mars are going to be traveling together through Capricorn, and they're all going to conjoin in January. Really, they're going to be traveling together for the first half of January that is coming up here. So this is setting us up for a Mars cazimi, this is setting us up for a Venus cazimi, and a triple conjunction between the three planets. Venus and Mars are going to be sitting there together too. So Venus is about to go through quite a transformation. Mars is too, but we're talking a little bit more about Venus this week because she's the one making the aspects, and she's the one that's moving across the sign boundaries and into a new house, into our chart. So if Venus has to do with our desires and what we want, what fills us up, right? And she's going to come into this square with Neptune where there's going to be a test of some sort of faith, or she's going to have to really dig into her belief and her will to be able to get through. And she's coming through this just before she's coming through this transformation here. So it's like we're being told to slow down this week. The solstice moment is here. It's a moment to pause. It's a moment to rest. There may be some sort of moment of decision, maybe a moment of crisis of some sort. Doesn't have to be absolutely crazy. Excuse me. And then we have a place of transformation that begins for Venus, for our desires. So when I look at our intention for this week, and I look at how light and dark are emerging from each other. Excuse me. Yep. All right, we might be cutting this one short tonight, guys, too, because I have a great winter solstice meditation planned, but I got a little bit of a cough going on right now, too. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the live stream, and I'm going to have all of us sit in a place of silence and contemplation on our own. And I will see you all next week, okay? All right, take care, everybody. See you next time.